Hey everybody, it's your Uncle Bear. So let's talk today a little bit about eminent domain. Now, some of you are familiar with the term, others of you are going, hey Uncle Bear, I'm pretty versed in the English language, but I'm not real familiar with that term. What is eminent domain? Well, sit back, grab you an icy cold beverage to enjoy, and I'll explain it a little bit. Basically, short definition is eminent domain is when the government or authorized private entities are able to basically seize land to build something that is of public use. You know, if it's something that's going to benefit the greater good, right? So basically, so if they want to build a Walmart somewhere, if they feel that the city needs a Walmart, then they can take property. They have to pay for it, but it's really, just fair market value. So if it's actually like a small business that's getting torn down for a highway, they're not going to give you the cost that the business would actually sell for if they sold it. They're going to give you just basically what the property itself is worth. Without figuring in how much revenue, that the business could have earned over time, which kind of seems unfair, but it's just the way the world works. Now, here's where I have a problem with it. I remember, and time really slips me, so I want to say it was probably 15, 20 years ago. I'm going down through North Carolina. I can't even remember the interstate or the cross highway, but going down the interstate in North Carolina, and I'm looking for a place to have some lunch. So this guy's, I got on the radio, and this guy says, he says, get off at exit such and such. He says, go west about a block. And he said, you'll see the place. He said, it's on your right-hand side. He said, it looks like it's, a little shack that's about to blow over with a stiff wind. They got like 2 fuel pumps, and you can only fit about 10 trucks in there. The lot's full of holes, so go slow. But he said, if you're looking for lunch, that's where you want to go. My kind of place, right? So I pull in there, and he was right about everything. And I went inside, and their lunch special was meatloaf. And brother, if I want to tell you that when I'm describing this, my southern boy is going to come out in full force. I had the meatloaf special. They brought me out 2 slabs of meatloaf about that thick, with the ketchup baked on it. Not what the Flying J and Pilot are trying to pass off as meatloaf. This was the good stuff. And you had a choice of mashed potatoes and gravy or mac and cheese. I got mac and cheese, and I can't remember what all vegetables, but I got the green beans, and then cornbread or hush puppies, which I'd never been offered hush puppies outside of a fish meal, So I went ahead and got them. I love hush puppies. So anyway, they brought out a bowl, like a cereal bowl of mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese. They brought out a cereal bowl of homemade green beans, and by homemade I mean they were grown in somebody's garden, and they broke them, and they fried up bacon, not bacon bits that you shake out of the shaker. They made fresh bacon and crumbled it up and put it in there, and onions. They actually cooked. Somebody's grandma was back there in the kitchen just to get it. And and of course I had a sweet tea, and I tell you what, I was stuffed like a tick. And it was so good. I went up to the register to pay for it, and it was like $5 and change. Now, granted, back in the early 90s, you could still get stuff, for $5 and change, but once in a while. But I tell you what, for the most part, mean, this was pretty inexpensive. And I told her, I said, ma'am, I said, that was really fantastic lunch. I said, I would be willing to pay more. You know, that was so good. She said, well, I said, I will be back. And she said, you better hurry. She said, they're going to be tearing this building down because they're making it a four-lane highway. And that about broke my heart. It really did. Because that's one of the old school truck stops that we hate seeing go away. Because, number one, it's somebody's livelihood. I hate seeing anybody's livelihood just get, you know, the state come in and say, yeah, we're tearing down your livelihood so we can build a 4-lane. And don't get me wrong, as a truck driver, I like 4-lane highways. I get where I'm going faster with them, but not at the cost of, number one, somebody's livelihood being lost. All the waitresses, all the cooks that work there, their livelihood is gone. The owner's livelihood is gone. And also, the food. Oh my word. You know, we had really good food in that place. And it just breaks my heart that that's gone. So yeah, eminent domain has its place, but I really, you know, I think it needs to come under more scrutiny. And when I say scrutiny, I don't mean by the government, because the government doesn't give a shit about any of us. So you know, if there's any doubt in your mind, they could give two shits about you or me, okay? We're the little guys. They don't care. They get their $300,000 salaries or whatever it is, you know, and they run off and legislate, that kind of thing. So yeah, they don't care about us little people. But yeah, it should come under closer scrutiny by us, the little people, and you know, and as you know. Like I say, that was an old mom and pop fuel truck stop. As you know, I will go to the grave screaming from the tops of rooftops of buildings that the 14-hour rule is a useless piece of crap. Okay? The 14-hour, there was nothing wrong with 15 hours, midnight to midnight. Nothing wrong with it at all. The 14-hour rule, all it did was eliminate, you know, for something that's supposed to prevent fatigue, it increased the amount of fatigue. Because what they did, when we had the 15-hour rule, you'd get up in the morning, you'd go into the truck stop, you'd have a couple cups of coffee, breakfast if you're a breakfast guy or lady, you talk to your fellow drivers a little bit, you know, then you go out and you drive for a while. And you stop at another truck stop, and you go in, sit down at the coffee counter, and have lunch, and talk with the other drivers. And you drive, you know, you'd either go out and take a nap, a half-hour, 45-minute nap, and then you jump back behind the wheel, and you drive for 3 or 4 more hours. Stop and have a coffee break, you know, and talk to the other drivers. And then you drive for the rest of your day. Park for the night, right? Go inside, sit down, talk with the other drivers. We actually socialized with each other. Go figure. We'd go into the truck stop, we'd sit around the coffee counters or at the tables and talk to the guy at the next table or whatever. If the place was full, we'd sit down with a total stranger, another driver, and talk and visit. Have probably 3/4 of what I've learned about trucking, I learned in those truck stops, talking with the other drivers, picking the brains of the old timers. And these younger drivers today, newer drivers I should say, because some of you, you know, it's a second profession or whatever, but you don't have that, you're not afforded that opportunity to learn from the guys that have been out here for 20 plus years, you know. And don't get me wrong, it's not just a one-way street. I can learn from you young pups too, because technology is not for us old guys. I mean, yeah, most of us, we're pretty adaptable. We can learn enough to get by. But honestly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing on computers and I mean, my wife taught me how to make these videos, and actually she actually is the one that goes in and says yay or nay to whether or not they actually get posted. And that's fine, because I got a crazy brain, as my niece says, so it could go either way, whether or not it's going to be offensive or not. So anyway, but yeah, we need to, there's so much stuff in our society that we need to rethink. And the 14-hour rule obviously is one of them. And the eminent domain, like I say, we need to, when it comes to tearing down somebody's house, it's one thing if it's a plot of land that's not being used or anything. I get that, as long as it's a reasonable price that they're getting for that piece of land, right? But taking someone's house, someone's business, stuff like that, or if it's something where it's a plot of land and there is wildlife on it that could be harmed, I don't like killing wildlife that doesn't need to be harmed either. So that needs to be scrutinized as well. We have to take care of animals, because they can't take care of themselves in that regard. So anyway, that's all I got today. Be safe out there, okay? And one of these days, I am going to do a little tutorial about a motor carrier's atlas and how to use it. If you don't have, if you're just starting out in trucking, GPS is a neat little tool, but it's a trust but verify tool, okay? And you really need to also get the current year Rand McNally Motor Carriers Atlas. Make sure it says Motor Carriers on it, okay? You don't have to get the expensive one. I've always gotten the paperback. Of course, the cover always comes off. And actually, mine's a 2023, so I need to update it pretty soon, I guess, because they keep building those four-lane highways, But because it changes, it changes, so they update them. But yes, you should have. If you're driving a truck, you should have a current Rand McNally Motor Carriers Atlas. They're invaluable. And like I say, I will make a video and show you how to read it and show you what kind of tools. They've got some neat tools in there that could come in handy for you. Those particular tools don't do you any good in like Chicago or New York City or Boston, any of that. They really don't. They might to a point, but yeah, for the most part, like Chicago, the clearance signs that you see when you're driving in Chicago, don't ever trust them, because if they say they're low, that could, let's say you come up to a bridge and it says 13.2. It's not necessarily 13.2. They could have dug it out to where it's over 13.8, 13.7, but they never changed the sign, and vice versa. It could say 13.7, but they could have put a couple more layers of blacktop on there, so now it's actually only 13.4. They never changed the sign. See what I'm saying? You see a pattern here? Anyway, but there are places where that Motor Carrier's Atlas will be invaluable. So anyway, another video, another day. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next time, okay?